Live from the VSiNs studios, it's the one and only Brent Musburger.
Well, VSiN, the Vegas Stats and Information Network, was making news today when it announced the opening of a brand new studio in the sportsbook of the Ocean Resort Casino in Atlantic City, New Jersey. And along with it, VSiN announced the hiring of Mr. Michael Lombardi, one of my favorite experts on the NFL, a former executive. He's got a book out that you want to get your hands on. And he and our host, Jonathan Von Tobel, will anchor programs from Atlantic City on Saturday and Sunday at 10 a.m. That's right. We go to 10 a.m. Eastern on Saturday and Sunday. Get insights from Michael and JVT on the upcoming college and pro football season. Spectacular news. We welcome our good friend Michael Lombardi, who, full disclosure, is right now driving across country with his wife to their new home in New Jersey. Michael, first of all, congratulations. Welcome. And how's the drive going through Texas, my good friend?
Well, it takes forever. I mean, it's a lot of nothing between Los Angeles and Waco, Texas, but it's been good. I'm really looking forward to being a part of VSiN, Brent, and I'm looking forward to talking about football every weekend at the Ocean Casino. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful venue, and growing up 12 miles south of Atlantic City, for an Ocean City kid, this is a dream come true.
Oh, that is great, because I hear the studio is gorgeous. The Ocean Resort, as you know, sits right there on the ocean. And, of course, we've got an NFL game tonight. And, Michael, as you were driving, you were probably listening, but all the money is coming in on the New England Patriots. Your feeling about tonight's game between the Patriots and the Indianapolis Colts?
Well, you know, it's funny, Brent. Nope, the Colts have been in every single game. They're getting no respect whatsoever by the money that's driving in right now. The Colts have been in every game. They've had chances to win every single game in the fourth quarter, and they've been in close games. The Eagles had the ball 40 minutes against them and only scored 20 points. Last week, they had opportunities to win the game against Houston. We know what happened. Frank Wright decided to go for it on fourth down. This is a team that's very good. What people don't realize, the question no one answers is, who's the best third down team in football? It's the Indianapolis Colts. They execute really well on third down. Their offense stays on the field, and what they're very good at doing is not giving up big plays. They play a ton of zone defense, and so it's going to be really difficult for the Patriots to methodically move the ball down the field. I think Edelman has a big role tonight. I definitely think the Patriots win the game, but like all Colts games, they play hard, they're athletic, and I think they'll be feisty for 60 minutes.
Mike, welcome aboard. Just to give you a little insight, keep driving. You're not going to find a whole lot of Italian food around Waco, Texas tonight, Paisan. But
no, that's spelled Italian. It's
that's
E-Y-E.
right. That's what I'm saying.
You don't go in the joint. You don't go in it when they spell it E-Y-E.
That's right, buddy.
All right, enough of that, you Italians.
All right,
Let's get back
we
to
got to
football.
get that. All right. Now we talked about tonight's game. Mike, there's some terrific, but where you are, there's some terrific college games this weekend, and probably one of the biggest ones, of course, will take place in Dallas between Oklahoma and Texas. What's your take on that game? Because I know you do pay attention and watch the college game as well.
You know, I've been impressed with Oklahoma. I mean, Murray is unbelievably fast and athletic, and what they did last week against Baylor was impressive. I mean, he didn't start the opening drive, but then he came back in, rarely threw an incomplete pass. And Texas, since the Maryland loss, has definitely gotten better. But I just think Oklahoma has got too many skill players and too much talent. I mean, they throw a bubble screen, Vinny, and the next thing you know, they're in the end zone. They've got a lot of skill on that field. I think Oklahoma, and I think Lincoln Riley does a really good job coaching. I'm not sure Tom Herman is going to be able to match it this year. Next year, perhaps, I think Texas will be back to where they're a perennial top five. But I think right now, Oklahoma, to me, they've got this thing going. And the way Murray plays quarterback, where he can beat you with his feet, and I've never seen a little guy with an arm like this. I mean, this is really an unbelievable cannon that he throws, and it creates problems for a defense.
You're liking what you're seeing out of Notre Dame with Book under center now?
No doubt. I think, look, when you do this, I think what you got to give Brian Kelly credit for it. Whenever you're playing a game, whether it's pro or college, you can't think about your opponent. You got to think about the teams you've got to beat. Al Davis used to talk about this all the time. He always wanted to make sure we were always talking about who we had to beat to win the title. And for Notre Dame, for them to win, they could not stay the course. they had to change quarterbacks. And I give them a ton of credit for making the move. Book gives them a much better passing game. They're able to exploit college defenses with their passing game. I know it was a gutsy thing to do, but if you're going to win and you're going to compete for a BCS game, you had to make the change, and you better do it now. I think Nick Saban last year probably wanted to go to Tui earlier in the year, couldn't quite do it. He made a gutsy decision against Georgia at halftime, and he did it, got away with it. I think what you see here from Brian Kelly is the right thing to do.
Mike, let me ask you this. LSU not getting a lot of respect from a lot of folks. Burrow at quarterback I think has had a terrific month and a good start to the season. Big test this week at Florida. What's your take on these Tigers here?
Look, I think LSU is one of the top 3 college programs. I think LSU's program could compete for a better NFL job. I'm not sure there's 5 or 6 NFL jobs that are better than being the head coach of LSU. It's a remarkable talent base. You always are going to get good players. The reason there's a difference is because Ed Orgeron is not what I would say a chess player. He's not going to be able to match wits with Nick Saban and some of the really good coaches in the Southeast Conference. He can out-talent people, and whenever he can out-talent people, he can win. Whether he can out-chess people or not, that's going to be a different story. And I think what he's done with his offensive coordinator is hand the reins over and given him some chances to really expand on this offense. Look, they've got great skill. It shouldn't be a close game, LSU versus Florida, but they make it a close game by how they play and how the style. But LSU's defense, to me, I think is really good, and I think LSU will dominate the game.
Terrific, Mike. Let's stay in the SEC because there's another team that's undefeated right now, and really, I think they're just breaking in. I just put them in my top 25 in terms of power ranking. They've had a terrific start already. Another great test on the road here at College Station. What are your thoughts on this Kentucky team?
Well, I think, look, Kentucky is their defensive front. They rush the passer well. They play very smart football, and they've been able to grow this program. And I think what you saw out of Kentucky, especially at home when they were playing Mississippi State, is their speed on defense, and they're going to need it against A&M. This is not an easy place to go down and play. Mm-hmm. And I think Jimbo Fisher is frustrated. And I think what you'll see in this game is A&M's talent level is always going to be better than Kentucky. That's why Paul Bryant left Kentucky and went to Alabama years ago, because he couldn't get the best players. I think this is going to be a struggle for Kentucky. This is a tough spot here. Yeah. I think they're well received. I think they've got a really good team, but I think A&M's got some skilled players that you're going to see. I think A&M could pull an upset.
Hey, Mike, is West Virginia the number one challenge, do you think, for Oklahoma in the Big 12?
I do. I think, first of all, the Big 12, the one thing about the Big 12, who plays defense, I'm not sure Oklahoma's defense is good enough either. And when Texas, do they play good enough defense? But West Virginia impressed me against Texas Tech when they came back and they made a couple stops, because Texas Tech was coming back in that game, and they made a couple stops that they needed. They turned the ball over. And I think with Greer at quarterback, I think they can. Now, what worries me always about West Virginia is when they look past games. They always have that tendency to look past the game, look past the opponent. And I think Will Greer's got to keep them in line. He's too talented for them to slip up, especially when they're playing a team that they should beat.
All right, we've got a lot of good information there on the colleges. Michael, I'm going to take a break, and then we're going to continue with the NFL. So stick right with us before you continue that long drive against the state of Texas. All right, remember this. If you're in a band, you can't play Texas without a fiddler in the band. Back live, VSiN.com, Sirius XM 204.
It's My Guys in the Desert with Brent Musburger, only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Keep up to date with everything in the world of sports gaming by going online at VSiN.com. Now back to Sin City and My Guys in the Desert with the legend Brent Musburger, live on the Vegas Stats and Information Network, Sirius XM Channel 204, and VSiN.com.
Well, we're speaking with the newest member of the VSiN family, Michael Lombardi, longtime NFL front office executive. In fact, for more than 25 years. The man we're speaking with has earned 3 Super Bowl rings with San Francisco back in 1985, later with New England 2015, 2017. In his most recent NFL stop, he was that special assistant to the Patriots coaching staff. And I want to quote from his new book, Gridiron Genius, Bill Belichick, in the foreword, Mike Lombardi is one of the smartest people I've worked with. All right? Belichick does not throw around praise like that. all the time. Trust me. So Michael is driving across country. You'll hear him Saturday and Sunday morning with Jonathan Von Tobel from our new studio at the Ocean Resort Casino in Atlantic City. Michael, I find that the best game is going to start Sunday at 10 o'clock Pacific time, 1 o'clock where you are. I can't wait for the Jacksonville Jaguars and the best defense that young Patrick Mahomes will see. It is the Jaguars at the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs have been favored all along by a field goal. You must have some big thoughts on the Jaguars and the Chiefs.
You know, Brent, this is a great game, and this is where two great teams collide. First of all, let's start off with Kansas City, who loves to make explosive plays. And what we saw on Monday night, Denver do a really good job of eliminating the explosive plays. However, Denver did a really bad job of their pass rush control, and Mahomes got out of the pocket. And when he got out of the pocket, he threw for almost 200 yards. And what happens is when you see Jacksonville is second in the NFL in allowing the least amount of big plays. They've only allowed 3 plays over 20 yards so far, 8 plays over 20 yards so far this year, and Kansas City's gotten 24. So two worlds are going to collide here. I like Jacksonville's defense. I love the speed of their defense, and I think they will make Kansas City work it hard down the field. What makes me believe Jacksonville's the better team here is Malik Jackson and Calais Campbell inside. To beat a great quarterback, people talk, oh, we got to play coverage. We got to win on the outside. No, you got to get into the paint. You got to get 2 defensive tackles to get in front of the quarterback and force him where he can't step up in the pocket. What he did in Denver was he stepped up and out because Von Miller was running past the quarterback. You know the worst place to be in football? 2 yards past the quarterback because he never turns and runs that way. And I think that's why Jacksonville will be able to win on the road as the road team.
Sorry, Brent. Michael, that's what I was going to ask you. You know, Mahomes got away from them. Von Miller is arguably one of the best in the game, if not the best. And he was always a step ahead of them. I mean, do they try to contain him? Do they try to actually keep him in the pocket if they have better coverage on the outside, unlike Denver was capable of doing?
Look, I've seen Mahomes enough this year. You better keep him in the pocket because when he's in the pocket, he looks at his first read. And if his first read's not there and he's kind of going through the process, his feet help people get open. It's how Aaron Rodgers has made a career doing this. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, there's nobody better at moving the defense with his feet. So he escapes the pocket, he moves around, and all of a sudden things start to happen. And I think that's what Denver didn't do. Great defenses have a rush plan. That's the most important way to stop a quarterback, and I think this is what's going to have – Jacksonville's going to have to be able to do that. They must stop the quarterback and run around. Now, people say, well, you know, they're playing in Kansas City. It's a hard place to win. Yeah, it is a hard place to win, but when you break it down, I mean, Kansas City, you can beat them. They're under Andy Reid, they're 30-13 at home. But remember this, they've lost 2 playoff games in Kansas City under Reid. So it's doable to win there.
You know what's interesting when you look at the numbers about Mahomes, guys, and Josh brought him up to you, Michael. I'm amazed that someone can throw for 1,200 yards in this league, 14 touchdowns, and not a single interception. I am amazed. I find that the most incredible stat by any quarterback in the NFL right now.
No doubt. I mean, he protects the ball. You know, they compare him to Brett Favre, but Favre gave you every chance in the world to get the ball out. I mean, he threw it to you more sometimes, and you could make some plays. This kid's been very selective with his ball, and what makes this kid remarkable is his accuracy outside the pocket. In the NBA, they want shooters to be able to shoot off of 1 foot because they want to see if they could have eye-hand control when they're not in balance. It's the same thing with quarterbacks. When they escape the pocket and they're off balance, do they have accuracy? Josh Allen doesn't. But Patrick Mahomes does.
Another one of the 1 o'clock starts that you'll be talking about. This one intrigues me because of all of the people who I respect have been telling me Detroit can beat Green Bay, yet all I can ever remember is Aaron Rodgers beating the Lions twice a year. Now, the Lions won both games last year, but remember it was Hundley at quarterback and not Rodgers. Your feeling early on here, Michael, about the Packers and the Lions in Detroit.
Well, why people like Detroit is really Rodgers' only win in the last 3 years was on the Hail Mary pass, Brent. If you remember, the one he threw on Thursday night that won the game to Richard Rodgers in the end zone. And so he struggled to play well down there. The crowd noise affects him, and it also puts pressure on their receivers, and he can't escape the pocket as well. I think the big thing here is Ziggy Ansah. If Ziggy Ansah plays, he hasn't played since the opening weekend. If he's not on the field for Detroit on defense, I think Rodgers will move the ball. Now, I don't think he's going to move it great, but I think he'll move the ball against Detroit. Detroit is – no one wants to believe this, but Detroit's one of the best tackling teams in football. Their yards allowed after contact ranks them number 2 in the National Football League. They're very good at getting guys on the ground. And Green Bay doesn't typically have explosive players down the field. Yes, Randall Cobb makes some plays. Allison will make some plays. Adams will. But they typically have to work the ball down the field. I think this can be a close game. Here's where I think Detroit gets the favor, is because the Green Bay defense is spin-a-dial defense. You don't know what you're going to get week in and week out. They struggle against the run. If the Lions play Johnston from Auburn and play him all the time in this game, I think Stafford will throw the ball effectively, and I think the Lions could pull an upset.
Hey, Mike, real quick on that game. With Aaron Jones coming back, and he looked pretty good in his limited role, and I know they were taking their time getting him involved, but he's been pretty explosive, and the praise coming out of there since he's been back has been really high. Do you think maybe now they can use Montgomery more as a wide receiver, have a few different packages with Aaron Jones running the ball?
I think they should never take Aaron Jones off the field. I think
agree.
He's their best back. I think it's very clear he's their best back, and I think that he can attack this team. You know, the other thing, not to change the subject, but the thing I failed to mention about Detroit's given up 59 points in the third quarter alone. And the rest of the 3 quarters, they haven't given up 59 points total if you combine them. So this game, really, if they can fix their third quarter deficiency on defense, it can help. But I love Aaron Jones. I think Aaron Jones gives them some juice in the backfield. He gives them loose playability, something they really need.
Hey, Mike, there's a game with 2 teams that are 3-1, and I want to get your take on, did we see the real Dolphins last week against the Patriots? And, of course, the Bengals, I think they get better this week with Burfict back defensively. Certainly a big surprise here. So 2 teams at 3-1. Who's the bigger surprise to you, and who do you think can move forward with the success they've had so far?
Well, I like Cincinnati. I think Miami's a fraudulent 3. They were fraudulent 3-0. They went up there. I thought it would be a closer game, but I didn't think they would beat New England. You know, Ryan Tannehill doesn't execute well on third down. He struggles. And I think when you look at Miami's defense, you can run the ball on them if you know how to run the football. I think Miami's done a good job in weeks 1, 2, and 3. I mean, Brent was at the game. The Raiders are up 17-7. There's 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. All of a sudden, for whatever reason, the Raiders get allowed big plays, trick plays, and they lose the game. The Raiders had them right where they wanted them and couldn't close them out. I think Cincinnati can move the ball effectively. Joe Mixon coming back is huge. Cincinnati's defense needs some help. Geno Atkins and Dunlap, those guys have got to put pressure on Tannehill. And when you put pressure early in the game on Tannehill, you can make him melt down. I like Cincinnati's team. I think Cincinnati is a very good offensive football team, and I love them when Mixon's on the field. Tyler Boyd has been really good for him this year, and it gives them more help. Even though John Ross has made some plays, it gives them help to go along with A.J. Green.
Yeah, Tyler Boyd's been fantastic, and I know Giovanni Bernard's hurt, and he's kind of been a good key to that team. I think what got overlooked in that with Miami is they beat up on a Jets team that came off a win where they were praising stealing the plays and knowing the signs, and I think they just kind of forgot to play football the following week. They didn't look past that Lions game, and then you guys said, I mean, Oakland was in control of that game. They were in full control of that game. And so I think Miami's record got a little bit overlooked by, circumstance, and then New England finally exposed them. But for the sake of a lot of things, I hope Cincinnati's not as good as they've been playing.
Well, I think Cincinnati's defense has got to get better. I mean, that's been one of their weak spots. They haven't tackled very well. Everybody's going after Dre Fitzpatrick at corner, and they've had success doing it. He's given up too many plays. Their rush has to win. I mean, Cincinnati wins with their pass rush. They're not going to win with coverage. And Burfict coming back will help them against the run. Here's the concern if you're a Dolphin and you want to bet Miami, is Miami hasn't been able to run the ball. And I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball in Cincinnati on the road. And then when you look at Ryan Tannehill's numbers on the road, his third down numbers on the road, which is what happened in New England, go way down.
Hey, Mike, two surprise teams in the opposite direction here. The rematch of the NFC title game between the Vikings and the Eagles in Philadelphia this week. I think folks are surprised at both of these records right now, especially after last week. Eagles hovering right around a 3-point favorite this week. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, look, I think Philadelphia has been sloppy all year. They're last in the league. They have too many penalties. They haven't been able to. I mean, just look at Carson Wentz's third downs. And when you examine Carson Wentz on third down last year to this year, it's a huge difference. Last year he was at 9 yards per attempt on third down. This year he's at 5. Now, he's only played in 2 games, but it started last year early. He was so good on third down. And here's the fact. The Eagles are what I call a 3 Mississippi defense. If you remember when we were kids playing in the backyard, if you counted the 3 Mississippi, the quarterback was running for his life.
Yep.
But if you counted the 5, guys got open. Well, that's the Eagles defense. They're a 3 Mississippi defense. They can't cover anybody. Their rush has to get there, and their rush hasn't been able to get there. I think Kirk Cousins will move the ball down the field. I think the concern for Minnesota, if you go in that direction, is can they block? Is their offensive line on the road? And that's what cost them in Los Angeles. They can't protect. Bad lines don't travel well. And that's what worries me. I think the Eagles are not the same team. They're not the same team in their depth in their defensive line, and their offensive line hasn't played near the level. If you just watch Carson Wentz, he's gotten really hit way too many times.
Michael, you're in Waco. I've got 6:24 Texas time. How far are you going to drive tonight, man?
I'm done, Brent. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to watch Baylor play Kansas State this weekend. My son coaches the Baylor Bears. I'm going to enjoy some football. I'm going to watch the great Bill Snyder, who's in my book. And really, Bill Snyder, when he built the Kansas State program, I know you've been to Manhattan, Kansas. I couldn't imagine anybody winning any games in Manhattan, Kansas, and the great Bill Snyder did.
I totally agree. It is one of the greatest coaching jobs in the history of college football. The young'uns, like Josh, they have no idea, Michael, how far that program was down when he took over in the Little Apple. That's a great stadium that they built there in Waco for Baylor. And are you on the air with Von Tobel this Saturday?
I'm going to be on phone with Von Tobel. I think we don't open the studio up until the next weekend, but we're definitely going to be on air this weekend.
So you will be on the air on the phone. And then
on
next
Saturday
week,
and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern time, okay? And then next week, they will take the cellophane off that brand new VSiNs studio in the Ocean Resort Casino. Congratulations again, Mike. It's great talking to you. Enjoy the game in Waco. And you said the missus is with you, right?
Yep, we're just going to go enjoy our grandson, and we're going to enjoy our son and the daughter-in-law. It's going to be fun.
Oh, you've got relatives around there then, too. You're in great shape. Mm-hmm. You can have a wonderful weekend.
No doubt.
All right.
Thanks, Brent.
All right, take care. Michael Lombardi.
Mike.
And we're back live, VSiN.com, Sirius XM 204.
It's My Guys in the Desert with Brent Musburger, only on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. Keep up to date with everything in the world of sports gaming by going online at VSiN.com.